This is section 6, all about the advanced strategies, and this is lesson 3, something known as the check raise. So to start off, what is the check raise? Well, a check raise essentially is a play where you check when action reaches you with the intention of re-raising a player if and when they decide to bet after you've already checked. So this isn't too difficult to figure out, but let me give you a quick example. So let's say you're playing 1-2 heads up no limit poker with an opponent and you're first to act on the flop. You decide to check, and then your opponent bets $10. The action comes back to you, and you come over the top with a $40 raise. This is known as the check raise. So your first intention was to check, then as soon as your opponent bet, you decided to raise over the top of your opponent. So why is the check raise effective? Well, the check raise shows a great deal of strength, and it also traps your opponent to put money into the pot. So at first you show weakness by checking, and then you show no fear by going over the top of whatever raise your opponent makes. So your opponent's money is now essentially trapped because they already invested their initial raise, and they'll most likely end up calling your bet as long as it's not something ridiculously high to see the next card, since they're somewhat already invested and committed to seeing the next card. So how to make successful check raises. So number one thing you need to make sure is that your check raise is big enough to really scare your opponent. So you don't want to be coming over the top. Let's say they raise $10. You don't want to re-raise another $10. Number two, check raising with monster hands isn't always the best idea. If you're guaranteed to win, you'd rather sucker your opponent in for the long ride by simply calling the original bet. So you're really looking to check raise in specific situations where you think that your opponent might be weaker or is drawing and you've got somewhat of a decent hand, and you might want to try to take the pot from them, or you might want to try to get them to get a call. When not to check raise. So check raising is a great and it's a beautiful thing to do, and it can work very well, but it can also flop monstrously if you do it at the wrong time. So you really need to know when to do it and when not to do it. So when you have a monster hand, you should not check raise. The check raise isn't magical. It's not going to help you magically win bigger pots when you do have the best hand. So you need to push your opponents off with the best hands when you bluff. Number three is you need to think very carefully before you use it. It's not something that you should do very, very often. It's something maybe I'll do 1 out of every 500 hands or 300 hands, something like that. And you need to be careful because when you can lose a lot of money with this move, and you should only do it when you're really confident, you really are comfortable knowing what you're doing. So with the check raise, you've really got to watch as other players implement the strategy and really just experiment with it on your own time. And then you'll kind of better over time understand the best places to check raise and the best places not to check raise. And from there, you can really sharpen up your strategy and start dominating the tables. But that's it for this section on check raising. I'll catch you guys in the next one.